Meeting will come to order. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the annual meeting notice was sent to the press at Down Beach Current, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, on the municipal website, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Would you please turn off all electronic equipment, and we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Becker,
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg.
I am here.
Well, at the beginning of the meeting, we were going to take a few minutes for a very pleasant occasion. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor.
Chief?
Welcome, everyone. It's great to see a full house. I know we have a lot of our firefighters, a lot of family members for this special occasion. But before we proceed with our promotion and our swearing in, I just want to mention that this is really a special time for the Margate Fire Department. We're losing somebody that was a dedicated firefighter, lieutenant and captain, for 37 and a half years. I wasn't here. I was away on a monitored vacation because of the school holiday. I wasn't here for the normal ceremony that was given to Tom Shields at the firehouse celebrating his retirement. And that opens up the positions that we're going to have the promotions with today. So I want to mention that, Tom, thank you for your service to the city of Margate. Thanks for being a friend. And this is really a great day for Margate as we bring new leaders into the forefront as we go ahead. So we'll start off by bringing Tim Wainwright up. Tim, you can bring your family with you. Come on, girls. You're going to be a part of it. I don't think I need a microphone. Can everybody hear me?
What'd you say?
Okay. Tim was hired in 1995 and was a firefighter for 12 years. He came through the ranks. He worked very hard to achieve the status of lieutenant, and now, some years later, becoming captain. He's filling Tom Shields' place. So your leadership as we move forward is going to be important for our Margate City Fire Department. You see all our firefighters here. The morale in our department is great, and you're going to be a part of keeping that morale where it's at and helping protect our residents as a member and captain of the Margate City Fire Department. So I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. If I get to the right sheet. I, and state your name. Raise your hand. We need a Bible. Yep. Continue on me. And raise your right hand and state I and state your name. Do solemnly and sincerely. Promise and swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
And that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform and discharge all the duties of office of fire captain
and discharge all the duties of office of fire captain
in the fire department of the city of Margate
in the fire department of the city of Margate
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and understanding.
and understanding.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. And now, as a part of the ceremony, I want to see if Olivia wants to place your dad's badge on his lapel. Maybe you can do that. Look who's with you. Is that Brady? Brady, okay, I get confused. Come on. Yes, come on up. Well, Brad joined in 2004 the Margate Fire Department. And what's easy for me is knowing Brad since he was, Nicole was 3 years old. You were probably 5, 4 or 5. Watching him grow up, watching him play sports, being a part of a championship football team, along with Teddy Gobles. Is that your name? No, you must be at the firehouse, right? Barbershop. and watching him pursue his education, graduating from Dartmouth, and now becoming a lieutenant in the Margate City Fire Department. So it's a real pleasure for me, along with promoting Tim, on naturally our chief's recommendation to swear Brad in as lieutenant in the Margate Fire Department. Brad, you've done a great job. Now you have an opportunity to lead. And as hard as you worked up to now, I'm sure, knowing how your parents raised you, how hard you're going to continue to work. So I would ask you to repeat after me. Where's the Bible? Yes? You handle it? I, and state your name.
I, Brad Hudson,
Do solemnly and sincerely promise.
do solemnly and sincerely promise
And swear
and swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
and justly
perform and discharge
perform and discharge
all the duties of the office of Fire Lieutenant
all the duties of fire lieutenant, the office of fire lieutenant,
in the Fire Department of Margate City,
for the fire department of Margate City,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and understanding.
and understanding.
So help me God. Congratulations.
It's a long time coming. It's a great achievement. We have a great department that does a great service for the city of Margate, and we're very proud of it. But I did want to say one thing. If you have any interest in being a firefighter in Margate, you need a degree from an Ivy League school. Anyway, thank you so much. I want to also acknowledge retired Captain Tom Shields and the commission. Thank you so much for all you've done. Commissioner Amadeo, we're very grateful for you being here. Thank you.
We're having a little after celebration at the Margate Log Cabin. So everybody's welcome to come over. Starting 5 o'clock, or whenever you get there.
I got one for you, one for us. Okay.
You on, Fred? Okay. At this time, we'll continue with the meeting. Senator Jitney Association is here to make a presentation. Please come forward to...
Yeah.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Manny Mathiadakis, President, Atlantic City Jitney Association. I'm here to put a proposal to Margate residents and the city of Margate. But before I do that, I would like to give a little bit of explanation the way we're running and who we really are. Like I said, Atlantic City Jitney Association, we have around Atlantic City, pretty much everybody knows. We have we're doing the airport shuttle from the airport back to Atlantic City. We're doing the New Jersey Transit, where they bring in the customers to Atlantic City, the convention center, the train station. We move them to different casinos. And also we have a route between Avalon and Stone Harbor, and also the CL City. We have 190 vehicles, compressor gas, natural gas. So pretty much like clean pollution on the earth. And with that, I just want to say thank you again for giving me the opportunity to propose. Many times for the past, when I was a driver and also a president, vice president, many of citizens of Margate, they put the question up, when you guys going to come into Margate? And one thing or another, we finally got the guts, if I say that, to be able to put things together, and we are here. I would like to hand a map to every one of you so you know. Do you have it?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mark, you have a map?
Everybody has a map?
Yeah, I gave it to everybody.
Okay. Pretty much the proposal will be as you see on the map. We start on College, go down to Amish, make a turn, right turn at Washington, right turn to Ventnor, left to Adams, left on Atlantic, left on Frantic, right on Ventnor, right on Annex, left on Atlantic. It's an option loop here, we put it just in case, but I will explain myself down. We can have a both because we're trying to see if we can serve not just the Margate, we'd like to continue, go down in case the residents of Margate, of Ventnor, they like to go further down to Atlantic City, or back from Atlantic City, Ventnor, back to Margate. We're going to put a few more buses, so actually it would be a loop. So coming in from Atlantic City, coming to Margate, Ventnor, Margate, and back down the same way. The proposal would be for us, I mean, we'll work with the police department, with the chief police, whatever it's necessary steps we have to do the stops, we're willing to do it, we will listen, whatever it's necessary to be done, we will do it. I also propose if this is going to take a place and we'll move on forward, the first, I would say 3-4 weeks, I will have a supervisor on the vehicle, not on all vehicles, but on one vehicle with a radio to make sure we heal to the pedestrians, we do whatever safe, necessary steps it takes so we can have it, so they can have an easy ride. If any questions, I'll be glad to.
Can I say a few things?
Sure.
John?
John Duffy. The key item here is moving the people, keeping the cars parked in Margate, keeping them off the road safe and everything. We're going to teach the drivers to yield to pedestrians, yield to pedestrians, yield to pedestrians. It's an important item. Pull into the curbs, don't block the street, keep the traffic moving behind us so we're not tying up anybody else. We could get together with the chief or sergeants or somebody just to come out and lay out where they would like us to stop, and we would make definite designation stops along the route. I think it's a benefit for everybody in the Margate, the business community, the citizens, and also the opportunity to go up to Ventnor and to bring people from Ventnor down to Margate to go out to dinner and have a good time and create more business for the whole community. So if you have any questions, I have a color map here if you want to see. Anybody wants to see something in color? Black and white pretty much shows it all, but there's a color survey here. Somebody want to see it?
No, we had that, John.
You're good with that?
Yeah, we
okay.
just made copies, and
okay.
we can't afford the coloring.
Okay, all right. We will do training with the guys. They will wear uniforms, and we're going to teach them to be courteous, and 25 miles an hour, I believe, is the speed limit on the avenue there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and there will be no speeding or no, everybody knows how the jitneys operate in Atlantic City. It's the mouse chasing the cheese, and that's not going to happen in Margate. They're going to obey and respect the rules that the city enforces and Manning the Association is going to enforce.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And this comes from a bunch of people who have asked me this question. So how and where do you plan to pull over to let passengers off and take passengers on?
Well, we're definitely not going to block the street. Most streets on Atlantic Avenue have those yellow lines, 20 feet from the curb. I never measured it. I know they painted a lot. They used a lot of yellow paint back in the day, and figure we'd be able to duck right in where those yellow lines are to keep the traffic flowing, going east and west. And I talked to Dave about it, and I showed him out front here, just while we were, proposing, and he said that sounds pretty good to him. And we'll get together with Dave or whoever he wants to. We'll actually bring a jitney down and do it in a jitney so we can get an idea, how much room we need at the intersections.
Anyone? Marty?
I think you'd have to work with Dave. In my opinion, we'd need designated stops, and I think we'd have to paint them. Because in the summer, we park in these spots that you're talking about, on most all of the corners. So I think we'd have to have an idea of dedicated stops on the route and try and work that out. And then the only other question I had was, how many jitneys at a time do you imagine would be in the city? Like, is it regulated? Could there be 10 at a time in the city? Or would we have one, or would we have two? How do we know how many? Because our streets are tight,
I understand.
and the jitneys are big. I mean, I really like the idea, but I'm concerned how many we might have at one time, John.
Well, the whole idea is we don't want to have the customer waiting a long period. So we're gonna walk before we jog. We might bring in 3. We might bring in 4. If we find out we need 8, we'll put 8 here. If we need 6, that would be the most 8. I can't see us going with more than 8. Ideally, 5 or 6, I think, would probably be the ideal number, because you want to space them out so everybody has an opportunity to pick some people up, take them to Atlantic City, and then repeat the trip back down to the city here. And we also have radios that if there's a group that walks out to the corner, like a group walks out to Rumson Avenue and there's 8 people, we get on a radio and say to somebody coming from Atlantic City down, as soon as you're empty, make a turn, go back there and pick up those 8 people, so they're not going to sit there and wait a long period of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna walk before we run, and we're gonna play by ear. How many would Margate like to have in the city at one time?
Well, I mean, I just don't think we have a handle on what that would be.
We don't. We don't.
I wouldn't be able to answer that either, John.
Yeah, no, it's hard to say.
I think Commissioner Amadeo has a question.
Well, I have the same feeling Maury has, that naturally, first off, let me start off by saying you guys are professionals. All the drivers, I've ridden many times on jitneys. John, you know that.
Absolutely.
And the bottom line is there's no question as to you guys abiding by the law and doing a professional job. I welcome the fact of this concept based on the fact if we're able to support our business community, and I'm sort of a little disappointed that everybody knows that the discussion's going on, the dialogue's happening about the jitneys coming into Margate, that we don't have more of our business community here in support of it. But as Maury stated, it's our summer season. As you know, you had a house here on, what was it, Mansfield or Lancaster?
Pembroke Avenue.
Pembroke.
Yeah, well aware.
That our
Hung out here a long
Atlantic
time.
Avenue's
Yeah.
solid cars, Coolidge is parking on one side, which makes it semi-difficult because the width of a jitney will be an obstacle for cars going by you. So every time you stop, you're going to hold traffic up there. And the drop-off and pickup have to be critically safe for not only the residents, but the other vehicles on the road. And, you know, it's something that, you know, the chief has to really designate, and I hate putting it on him because he's busy enough with his 2 hats that he's wearing right now, but he has to designate what he feels would be the safest spots to set up for a jitney stop. So those are things, and you know, the sad thing is we should have started this conversation back in January, because to create an ordinance and pass an ordinance, we have to have 2 public readings, and then it doesn't enact for 20 days after that. So even if we were to move on it in the next couple weeks, we're still looking at the end of June, beginning of July before we would be active.
That would be the earliest?
Yeah, that's by law. We can't do anything before that.
Well, we'd have to, you know, we got to do it the right way, and we'll go with that and start it a little bit later in the season.
But I think, you know, not that we're given the okay to do it, but I think that 2 jitneys would suffice. We're only talking about a 2-mile run. Now, you're saying going up to Atlantic City, you're creating a loop beyond the city of Margate,
Yes.
going up to Atlantic City. So you would never have more than probably 2 jitneys in the city of Margate at any time. If somebody's running Atlantic City, or even 2 are running Atlantic City, and you had 4 buses on, there would only be 2 in the city at a time.
Well, the having the 2 work in the Down Beach area here, the Coolidge Avenue, Amherst Avenue, Washington Avenue, that perimeter there, back up to the other end. The whole idea is people coming from Venter, we could bring them down, take them to the restaurant area back there. So to bring more, and you know, they're going to go to Ventura's, they're going to hit all the places.
What's the status of your proposal with Ventnor, right?
I wasn't at the meeting, the last meeting, Manny.
Pretty much on the same stage as we are right now with you guys. They looking at, I think, next council meeting, they willing to take a first step.
Chief?
Please.
Not to put you on the spot.
Please.
But you're the professional. Have you had a chance to look at this at all?
Briefly, what I would like to do is get together with these gentlemen in the next week, and possibly go out and actually take a physical look at it and see what's going on. And John suggested take the jitney out and see how much space we're actually going to need and come up with a proposal.
Can we do that, guys?
Absolutely, yeah.
I just want to say, certainly it'd be easier for me if, on the map, I know where we're planning to make the stops. And, you know, are we stopping at Ventura's? Are we stopping at Stephen Cookie's? Where are the stops going to be to pick up and drop off? It would help to understand the route and the feasibility for me.
I agree with Commissioner Blumberg, so that's maybe something you should look at when you're out with the chief. Okay?
Yeah, I agree too. I think, yeah, we will stop at probably every corner on Amherst Avenue, knowing that's where there's a lot of activity, a lot of restaurants, the nightlife and everything, or every other corner. But anybody that has a business back there, they'll be glad to see us there. And, you know, there's been talk about this, and Ed Berger talked to me last year, the year before, about trying to do something like this, and we kind of put it off, and now it's time to take the bull and run with it.
Okay. Why don't you get in touch with Chief Wilson
Yeah.
at some point and work
I'll
that
give
out?
you my card. I'll
Okay.
give you my card here, and, we could set a day up, and we could go down, and if anybody else wants to take the ride, it holds 13 people, so we could put 13 people on that bus and take everybody for a ride,
Oh.
We got to advertise that.
Who's driving, John?
Obviously, I'm going to be the driver for that show and tell.
Get a hold of Chief Wilson and,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
We will,
Yeah, something
not now.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Mr. Abbott, you're up next, please.
With regard to the Lucy lease, as you know, there was an issue regarding the reimbursement of utility funds of about $9,300, and Lucy's lawyer has sent me a letter, which I forwarded to all of you. They've offered to repay that money. They'd like to do it over the summertime in 3 installments. And I think if you've had a chance to look at it, I'd like you to advise me to what's our position, and we're going to go forward and accept that payment plan. Or not.
Mayor, may I?
John, sure, sorry.
Yeah, Scott, I absolutely support, what contract they drew up and understand why they want to make equal payments throughout the summer during their season. Where else are we with that committee that was formed, the Citizens Advisory Committee? I know we had one meeting, but it seems like nothing else is pursued since that point.
There's been no further interaction with them. Their lawyer advised. I said to them, well, let's have an understanding as to when is the termination date of the lease. And the response I got back was that the ordinance that originally sent it up controls.
And could you give us the dates on that ordinance?
Well, it looks to me, I take the position that it ends in December of 2017. Now, our records, as you go back over 30 or 40 years, there were some amendments, but I think as far as I can tell, it looks like it ends the end of 2017.
Can
And
we
so-
forward a letter to them to get their interpretation of what their lease says?
Well, Commissioner, I have done that once already, but I'd be certainly willing to do a second letter.
I mean, what did they respond?
They said that the ordinance in place controls the termination of the lease, which was really, it was not very clear.
Okay.
But I did get the letter also saying that they would pay back those utility monies, which had not been paid for a number of years. So I will certainly follow up with a second letter, but I will also advise them, if the other two of you, I guess you all agree to the repayment plan of 3 separate installments over the summer.
I'm good with
So
that.
they acknowledge that they owe it, and they've agreed to pay it back.
Okay.
And
And
as far as this termination date, I would like to further firm that one up.
why don't you be in touch with the attorney
Will do.
and see why we can't have another committee meeting? If we're going to settle our differences, we have to start again somewhere.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Marty, anything? John?
I'm good.
Okay, we're good. Now we'll go to department head reports. We'll start with Mr. Wahlberg, please.
Okay. The only thing I really need to report, right now, all the projects are moving along, streets are starting to get paved, but the most important thing is all the gas company work that is going on now, the final paving will take place after the summer. What we're going to do is prior to Memorial Day, we're going to meet with the gas company, we're going to ride all the streets, we're going to notify them of the openings that need to be addressed so that they dress up what we have, and then we just have to live with the openings through the summer, and it also gives them time to settle, which is something I'm a big proponent of. And sometime probably after the end of September, after we're done with our season, they will come in and start paving. There will be work, they have approximately 1,000 services left they have to do. That's all they're working on right now are services, all the main work is complete. Once the services are all reinstalled, they will then abandon the old mains, so there'll be some additional street work that takes place at intersections. And that could go on into June, but it's isolated. It'll be a small area at a time. They'll only touch one intersection. So we will see work after Memorial Day, but it'll be isolated. Also, there are many of the services that they can't get to the people's houses because they're not down yet. So when the summer people are here, they'll be able to complete them.
Thank you, Ed. Frank?
April 16th, we're having our paper shredding event in the Public Works yard. The utility department has been putting in fire hydrants around town, uncovering water valves that have been covered over by paving, and they installed a few water services. We've been working on the beach every day. We're cleaning around the steps on the beach side, trying to pull the sand away from the bulkhead to get ready for the beginning of next month where we start cleaning the beaches. That's all we have.
Good job, Frank, thank you.
I have a quick question for Frank, related to the sand that pushes up to the bulkheads. How do we typically, we work with the big tractors to scoop it out and then move it down to the water line? Is that what you guys?
Yes.
That's the majority of the work that you do? So
Yeah.
as the sand level rises up to the boat, we try and dig it out?
Yes, to stop it from building up and blowing over the bulkhead on
Okay.
the private property.
Right. So how much do you typically dig out?
We usually go down to the first whaler, which is,
Okay.
about 4 feet.
Okay.
Yeah,
And we do that at almost every beach?
the whole beachfront.
Holy cow, good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Frank. Tony?
Mayor, Commissioners, thanks again for today. It's a great thing for us to do promotions. We're really grateful for that. Things are going very well in the fire department. I would like to make note that we just had our third or fourth Narcan saved this week. Of course, I can't mention anything about the call, and it's unfortunate, but it's fortunate that we're administering it. So we're glad to be able to do that. On the beach patrol side, I'm working with Chief Smallwood, and we're preparing for the season, getting things ready, and off-season work started this week. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Lisa?
Our auditors, as you know, have been in for the last couple weeks and will be here at least through tomorrow. I'm not sure if they'll continue on until next week, so I will keep you informed as to any possible findings they may have. As you know, we have our public hearing on the budget at 5 o'clock. I appreciate your consideration in that. I think we have a good budget put together, and if adopted, I'll work on having it implemented in our admin software so everyone can begin, encumbering everything. Last thing I just want to mention, and for the sake of the public, as some of you may know, we have recently undergone a conversion in the software that we use for our tax and utility billing. So I just want to try to get the word out there, where ordinarily our utility bills are mailed out in April. Due to the conversion, and we're still fine-tuning things and looking for any possible errors in the conversion process, our bills are targeted to be mailed out May 4th, and we will have a due date of June 13th, and then with the grace period after that. So in the past, they've been due June 1st, but for this year, they'll be due June 13th. If there are any issues that you may have, please contact the Water and Sewer Department, but hopefully after the conversion and all the kinks are worked out, it'll be extremely beneficial. You'll be able to look up your balances online, and ultimately you'll be able to pay online a few more months down the road after we have everything else corrected. That's all I have.
Thank you, Lisa. Chief?
Everything's great in the police department. I want to thank Chief Tabasso for assuming the responsibility of the administration of the Narcan. It makes my life a lot easier, and everybody's life a lot easier, so thank you for that, Tony. I have a quick question, any dates in mind or a date in mind regarding Atlantic Avenue and the restoration of the lights to normal operation?
Chief, that's your call.
Okay.
It's your recommendation.
I will check the records for what we did it last year and do the same thing.
It's right before Memorial Day, right?
A little bit,
Yeah.
a little farther out.
Mother's Day.
Thank you. Other than everything else is good.
Mother's Day, what do you get?
That's like the biggest thing in Margate. It's window lights. Scott, do you have anything else?
Number of items very quickly. First, we had a meeting today with our grant writer, Jim Rotella, and our engineers. As you know, we're moving forward on a grant application which it necessitates the design of a bulkhead for the Amherst Avenue area. We're going for the whole length of Amherst Avenue, from the Marina districts down to Longport. There may be some obstacles to that, of course, and we don't know for sure that we'll get the grant. We're talking about $3 million plus on the grant application that Eddie Wahlberg's office has been working on the design of that. And that necessitates us to make a decision with regard to the bulkhead height and how we're going to handle that, so Ed knows how to draw up that bulkhead. So somewhere along tonight, we need some guidance from the governing body on that point. That's one thing. Second thing is, as you know, I'd asked for an executive session so that we could discuss negotiations with both the NJDEP and the Army Corps with regard to our efforts to dredge. I see we have Resolution 62-2016, and I would ask our city clerk to amend that slightly so we specify exactly why we're going into a closed session, which is to discuss our negotiations with our upcoming efforts and meetings with the DEP and the Army Corps. We're going to be talking money, obligations, a lot of involvement, and there are things there that we do have a right, and we certainly should go into a closed session to discuss how we're going to handle that and what our strategy is trying to move forward so we can ultimately get permission and implement dredging in our Back Bay area. The third thing is there's been no decision yet on our battle with the state of New Jersey over the shore protection program. Mayor, as you know, and I know you talk to me about it every day, we were supposed to have that decision some time ago. The judge asked for additional time. We're now past that time period as well. I would anticipate very shortly that decision, but I don't have it yet. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Scott. Johanna?
We recently advertised that May 5th will be the auction for the parking spaces on Washington Avenue. On May 7th, we will have the rabies vaccine at the firehouse from 10 till noon. And on May 21st, we will have the citywide cleanup. That's it.
Thank you, Johanna. Roger?
Planning zone is keeping awfully busy. Another thing I want to implement throughout the city was with the cooperation of the city engineer's office is we're going to purchase these silver discs, stainless steel, like giant washers. They'll be elevation 10, so when they're surveying the street for whatever reason, at every intersection is my goal to have a washer at elevation 10 so everyone can have a reference point where 10 would be, other than guessing it. That'll help us with our CRS program and Jimmy, and that'll be on our website for public use.
Thank you, Roger. Jim?
It just cuts right off. Doesn't say, Tony, great job today on your the promotions. It was awesome seeing the two guys. They're two great guys. And if you look at the way Atlantic City is right now and Margate, it's two different worlds. I mean, you got the greatness of what Margate's doing and what's going on in Atlantic City. It's just keep doing a good job, guys. I mean, you're doing the right way, right? We had the City Hall. We went over there and we moved a couple of things around. I think we're moving along with that. I think a lot of people are seeing houses being elevated out of the ground. If the grant program is still active, I think I would like to see more houses being elevated, but it's been, I think it's been dead in the water for about a month or two now. But if you want to write your congressman and say, could you reopen the program? I know there's funding still available. People have turned the funding down and haven't taken advantage of it. So if you could get somebody to write a nice letter to your congressman or senator, maybe get this program back up and running. I know there's other people who want to get involved in that program. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jim. Maureen?
Nope, everything's good in the court.
Thank you. Commissioner Blumberg?
No, good, Mike, nothing to report.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Good.
I'm
Fred.
I'm just trying to stay awake.
Fred, are you awake? I apologize. Do you have anything? Fred has nothing.
I have one thing,
Go, Chief.
I was just talking to Solicitor Abbott. Earlier in the week, Jim Rattal had contacted me, and I apologize for not being at the 2 o'clock meeting today due to another pressing issue. Was any mention made by Jim regarding a flood mitigation grant? Do you recall that?
Not today. Fine.
We touched upon it with the bulkhead, but what Jimmy is proposing we do is authorize him to go forward with some grant applications for additional flood mitigation funding, which, as soon as he has more details, he'll send them to him. I would assume that the governing body would say yes if we can get money, additional monies. Ricciolo has been excellent, by the way, in getting us the grant monies we've gotten already, and he's usually right on the money when he says apply for something. So we definitely should encourage him to go forward on this. And I assume the three of you would want that. Is that correct? Yes?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yes?
We will follow up and push that
Okay.
anytime we can get a grant.
Well, at this point, we'll open, Robin, are you still? Yeah, we're open for public comment. Let me explain the procedure. You have 3 minutes. You can discuss anything that was discussed here today. If you have anything else to talk about, you'll have to wait for the 5 o'clock meeting. Please come forward, your name and address, please.
Robin Scott, Ray Scott Stock, 9211 Amherst Avenue. And I knew, Mike, you were putting that clock out there for me, the 3 o'clock. Listen, I just wanted to say, you said there weren't many members of the business community here about the jitney issue. I am all for it. In fact, I want a jitney stop in front of Ray Scott Stock and Colmar. I would take a jitney to Colmar in the middle of the summer to not have to park a pickup truck in the parking lot, and I think it would be helpful to business. I also drive, I have a CDL, and I drive a jitney for the Marriott Fairway Villas. Been doing it since October of 2014 in the wintertime. I think jitneys would be a seamless solution to a lot of our transportation issues. I know I do a lot of charters for bachelor parties and bachelorette parties. People at the casinos will come down and rent boats and charter our captains. What I have to do right now is hire a limo service for $150 to pick a group of young men up at Harrah's, bring them down. How nice to be able to put them on a jitney and bring them down and drop them off in front of the dock and go back. It would be a money savings, and I think it's going to enhance the business opportunity. So I just wanted to say, also, I've been doing these tours for Marriott. If anybody wants to be proud of Margate, research the history. I go Barrier Island. I call it my Sand and Storms tour. If anybody doubts that we don't need a sand dune, all you have to do is start at Atlantic City and end up at the World War II bunker at Cape May and see what happens to the sand. It's an easy argument. But I just wanted to thank you for what you do and encourage the jitney operation.
Thank you, Robin. Any other public comment, please?
Hit the red button. Red. Reset. Good.
Sewell, 22 West Drive, extra 2 seconds there, Mayor.
Anything for you, John.
Anything. On the comments made by the city solicitor, I'd like to make 2 notations. As part of that closed session, I would ask that the commissioners consider having a referendum on this bond and indebtedness for dredging. I think there should be input from the citizens concerning such a large expenditure if there is not sufficient grant money. It is only fair to the taxpayers to have a review of this. And also, the way the minutes are set up, I would request that these minutes either appear in a written form when they're no longer confidential, or they appear on the website, rather than, have to go ask and let's see the Gutenberg Bible type of thing. A point of information, I reviewed what the solicitor said last time concerning the Merriam-Webster, and it appears that the solicitor misconstrued.
Did we talk about Merriam-Webster in the website?
Oh, yes, we did. This is old matters which have to be properly corrected, Mayor. We don't want you to go through your life in the bliss of ignorance.
John,
But-
you'll have to wait 5 or 10 minutes to wait at the next meeting. Okay?
Not really, Mayor, because it's old matter. It's an old
John,
matter which has been brought up
John,
before.
the procedure is anything that's talked about today at the work session. If you have anything, please go for it.
you're first up.
Otherwise, you're
First up always. But, and also, I don't know whether we've talked about it, but we're going to have, you mentioned the budget, right, Mayor? Mention that budget. Somebody mentioned the budget, okay? And I'm going to
Fess
say
up.
that a humongous portion of that budget happens to be the 12 million plus for a school district budget in which all seven areas of efficiency were found to be gravely wanting. And this commission passed that humongous budget without demanding any corrections so far as its efficiency is concerned. And I think that you have a fiduciary duty as well as a statutory and constitutional duty to make sure that the children and taxpayers see a thorough and efficient education. What is going on with that Board of Education is light years away from thorough and efficient. And to pass that budget without having stipulations concerning improving efficiency is seriously amiss. And it reflects itself in the end product where the mayor was once again seriously off base so far as the proficiency of the graduates.
good timing, John. Okay, wait.
Stop it, hit reset.
Any other public comment? Yeah, it's this one we started.
Stephen Altman, 9003 Amherst Avenue, Margate. With regard to dredging, we had a meeting at the end of March about bicycles and pedestrian projects and the possibility of what we might do. I think a meeting like that would be extremely useful regarding dredging. I've heard a lot from our solicitor about the fact that it would impact the values of properties along the bay if we didn't dredge. But there are a lot of other issues that I haven't heard discussed. Environmental is one. Off the top of my head, I'm forgetting my thoughts. But there are a lot of issues regarding dredging that we might consider. Back when I was a kid, we had a lot of sailboats in the back bay and human-powered boats in the back bay. And dredging was a regular thing, and no one questioned it, really. Now we have global warming. We have certainly a problem with if we increase the volume of water in the bay, is that going to increase the problem during a storm? Are we encouraging gasoline-powered boats, which may affect global warming and exacerbate our situation worldwide? There are a lot of engineering issues that should be discussed, I think, publicly before we commit to a very large amount of money. Also, if we do go forward with dredging, with global warming, what would be a projection from engineers as to how long it would be before we would have to have dredging again? And whatever our investment is now, would we have to repeat that in a relatively short amount of time? A lot of issues that really need to be addressed by engineers and environmental people. And I suggest before we go with a referendum that we have a public meeting like we had for bicycles and pedestrians and bring in people from the Army Corps of Engineers and the state of New Jersey to join that meeting for a general public discussion. Thank you.
Steve, thank you. I can assure you, Steve, it will be a very open process. There will be meetings and everything that you want will be discussed. Is there any other public comment?
Steve Warner, 103 North Sumner Avenue. I read in, I guess it was a Courier Post or something, 2 or 3 weeks ago, that there was a decision regarding the dunes in Long Beach Island where the people that wanted to, didn't want the state to have the easements were defeated. And I don't believe there's been any decisions other than that with the state, but the end of the article said that the people plan to appeal the state's decision. So I was just wondering the status, well, I guess we still don't know what the status is, but it almost seems to me that it's going to be a lose-lose for the city. If the state wins and we appeal it, I consider that a loss, and if we happen to win, then I'm sure the state's going to appeal. So I'm just concerned about spending more taxpayer money fighting the dunes, especially with regard to now we want to go to the DEP and the Corps of Engineers and essentially ask them for money to help us to dredge the Back Bay. So has there been any consideration about any of that? No?
Haven't considered that until we get the decision from the court, Steve.
No, if I may, you say it is in our thinking. Of course it is.
Okay.
There's no indication from the DEP or the Army Corps that they're going to hold it against us, the issue of shore protection versus dredging. There are different sub-agencies, different individuals involved, and so far we've had a number of meetings with them, and it's never been mentioned. And it's a lot of different people. So I understand your fear. Certainly it's in our mind as well, but they've never
just
mentioned
my experience that the state government, or any government, can be very vindictive.
Could be.
Yeah, could be, very vindictive.
But it's just speculation. We don't know that.
Well, I've seen it, but of course, in this particular case, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't want to see any more taxpayer money wasted. Now, if some of the people that are, want to fight the dunes, if they want to pony up some money, I think that would be fine. I would be a lot more sympathetic if, say, a dollar for dollar basis, if the anti-dune people put up $1 and the city put up $1, something like that. I'd like to see that because, frankly, they've gotten a free ride. And, well, anyhow, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Steve. Is there any other public comment? Is there a motion to close public
I'll make the
comment?
motion to come out of closed session.
Johanna?
Mayor Becker?
Yes?
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes,
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
I thought we were done.